Have you ever wanted to learn Spanish without using textbook, without sitting and studying grammars or Anki flashcards, and just going crazy about it? Well, you have come to the right place. Because today, I will show you, young grasshopper, I will enlighten you with the ways of learning Spanish or any other language the easy way, or at least the easier way. But first, let me just get my slide working. I want to tell you about this method. And let me tell you first the hard things about this method and what it is not. So let's set the expectations. It will take time. This is not learn Spanish in 24 hours and this type of clickbait shite. It's not. Excuse me for swearing. That's the only time I'll swear in this video. It will take time. It will take consistency. It will take patience. And it will not happen overnight. But in turn, I promise you that with this method, you won't have to use textbooks. You won't have to study grammar. You won't have to sit and memorize Anki flashcards. And in turn, it will feel as effortless as it possibly can. Of course, anytime you learn something new, it will require effort. But there are ways we can make it easier and make it fun. So it doesn't feel effortful as in the traditional way where you sit down and you study. Your teacher gives you, these 10 words till next week, and then you're going to sit down and you're going to put them on the test. That's boring. I don't want to do that. So what do we do? The answer is comprehensible input. Now, what is comprehensible input? Maybe from the name, you can already take a guess. It's input that you can comprehend. Well, what kind of input are we trying to do? So while the traditional school system forces you to sit down and study words and read grammar, comprehensible input basically starts with the idea that you should consume content that you can understand through context. And one of the analogies they kind of draw from, and I'm not the creator of this. If I was, I would be a genius. But I'm not, unfortunately. But it is kind of the concept about the way a baby learns his first language. So when you were a kid, your parents, they didn't put you on the baby stool on the kitchen table and say, listen up, kid. Here are 10 words. Study them till next week, and we'll check it out. No. What they did was they took, for example, now I'm going to go in Spanish. They took, for example, no, I don't have any water in this, but let's pretend I had water in this. And you knew water es agua. Entonces, en esta taza hay agua. En esta taza hay agua. And with time, because you understand that agua means water, and I'm pointing at some object which you do not know the name of, and you hear water, object, water. If you hear enough times, if I would put this on repeat for 10 hours, then you would probably understand that taza means cup. Now, this is not a cup. This is a glass or a glass cup. But you see the point. And by seeing the visual in the beginning, you'll be able to understand it through context. Even if you know 0 words, but you know, if you can see it, then you'll be able to associate the picture or the visual with the word. And with time, you increase the difficulty slightly every now and then. And what will happen is you start very simple. Very, very simple. What we see here is a picture of Dreaming Spanish. It is one of the biggest comprehensible input Spanish provider. And personally, I haven't seen, for example, if you look here on the top left side of the videos, there is one video titled Spanish Story for Beginners, the Christmas Gift. Now, I haven't personally seen it. But since this is a beginner video, what she'll probably say as she's holding this gift, she will say, este es un regalo. Este es un regalo. And with time, you will understand that regalo means gift. And when you and step by step, you increase the difficulty gradually. This is another great channel, Martin from Spanish Boost. There's also Mila, which is his girlfriend, and they both make this type of style of input videos. And here he's playing games and video games. So if you love gaming, he's a great channel for that. And what he'll do is basically, while he's playing the game, he's explicitly explaining kind of what he's doing in a fun way. And with that way, you associate the picture with the word, and it engraves in yourself a lot deeper, right? Because we all know sometimes something happened in our lives. It could be a funny moment or whatever. And that moment you will never forget. Or you heard a word or something and you will never forget it. Why? Because you have a visual, you have an emotional connection to that word or that moment. And you truly know the language. And then you're going to finally understand native content. I don't think you will. Because I've heard from native people, they can't even understand this La Casa de Papel because they speak so fast. So that will probably take you quite some time. But you could speak a little bit still. So step by step. Step by step. Now, expanding on this. Why go Spanish first? Well, there are a few reasons. If you want to become a hyper-polyglot and flex on the streets, doing street interviews and speaking 155 languages, then it is an easy beginner language to start with, to build the momentum. Because, first of all, it is phonetic. It means that the way you speak is very one-to-one with the way you write, which makes perfect for us only using audio and visual to learn without opening any textbooks, because it is using the same alphabet as the English language. So it means that if you can speak Spanish, you can probably read it to a high level and write it, of course some misspellings, but definitely readable and understandable. The second reason, there are a lot of resources available. Now, this is very important because you want to make it as easy as possible. Technically, if you sat down and studied grammar and books the traditional way and you spent 10 hours a day for 5 years, you would speak Spanish. But there are very few people, unless you're a hardcore language learner, that would be willing to do that. So you want to make it as easy as possible. And since there are a lot of resources available, you will find something that you will like, hopefully. Second thing, now, don't quote me on this, but my friend Chat said that Spanish has the second most native speakers in the world. As you can see on this map, there are a lot of places that speak Spanish. So you get the most bang for your buck. It is fairly easy to learn, about 500-600 hours, and you get a very broad reach. Now, where I struggled, and you might too, As you can see, I'm on 581 hours. This is an old pictures. I'm probably at around 585 or 586 or something like this right now. Now, in the beginning, you will not understand nothing. You have to. I will just tell you what to expect, or what I think you could expect. So you have these different levels we see on the picture. I would say up to 150, 200 hours. You have to watch videos, and in the beginning, those videos aren't going to be that interesting because you won't understand that much, and your vocabulary will be very limited. To the extent of almost a baby. So you'll have people saying, oh, este es papel, este es papel. Y en un papel, tú puedes escribir. And this way, it is kind of boring. Because, not boring, let me put it, because I marketed this method as not boring. So, but not as interesting as it could be. So you have to, fight through those 150, 200 hours because it will be not as fun because you'll be spoken to as if you were a kid or slightly challenged, which is not maybe that fun. But let me tell you about this. The valley of death, okay? These first 150, 200 hours, they are the most difficult part of your journey because you have to sit down and you have to watch to understand. I explain it like this old fish game I used to play when I was a kid, and I think maybe it was only one thing in my country, but everybody played this game, and it was so fun. In this game, you start as this little orange fish we see in the bottom. Okay, and in the beginning, you can only eat fish smaller than you. This is your pool of resources that you can consume. Your vocabulary is so small that you can only eat something smaller, right? But as you consume more content, as you consume more input, you'll be able to eat bigger fish. And in the end, there is no fish. In other words, there is no content that you cannot consume and understand. That means in the beginning, you might have to sit and watch the videos. But when you reach that critical point of 150, 200 hours, which I saw here on this slide, here, 150, when you hit here, 150 hours, that's when listening becomes easier and rewarding. Why? This is a critical point, and the slides I've seen from the other teachers, they don't really say this this early, but around 150, 200 hours, that's when you can start listening to audio-only podcasts. And it will be very simple podcasts, but you'll be able to do it. That means when you're taking your 10,000 daily steps, like you should, then you can listen to a podcast. 60 minutes of input. Just passively in your day. And you will be able to get 365 hours of input every day without really putting any dedicated time to learning. In 3 years, you have 1,000 hours, over 1,000 hours. That will put you at being able to speak Spanish without any hindrance. I'm at 580 hours right now, and I can probably already communicate with a native person. Obviously, they have to slow down slightly for me, but I'm very close to be able to do that. And I've only been studying slightly, like 20 minutes per day, until I reach this critical point, 150, 200 hours. And then you start listening, and then you start going exponential here. Then you'll be like, oh, I can listen to, I actually find content that is interesting, that you would listen to either way in English or your other native language, and it becomes really enjoyable. Now, where do I go next? I sold you. I did a great presentation. I sold you. Okay, Alex, I want to do comprehensible input. let me throw away, let me burn my grammar books. There are many ways to do this. But to make it as easy as possible, I recommend this. I'll just give you a one shop stop. Go to Dreaming Spanish. Use their super beginner videos, till you're about 150 hours. After 150 hours, you can go to Spanish Boost. Spanish Boost Gaming and Spanish Boost Mila. They're super fun. They're a couple doing comprehensible input. They have their separate channels. Sometimes they make videos together. And use this. I mean, you can watch them even after you, but use them. Get to around 200, 250 hours. When you get there, you can start finding podcasts where you can listen to Spanish just using audio. And now you built up the difficult part, and now you can just have it running in the background in your day-to-day, and you will learn it passively. Okay, I went through too fast. You see, I'm still learning. But if you do that, I promise you, if you put in the time, you'll be able to learn it. So this will be my pretty much only video in English on this channel. And in the future, I'll have Spanish videos only, where you will hear my Spanish. And I'm not sure about the format yet. I'll try to figure it out. I'll try to do some type of input where there is some visual, and we'll figure it out. But I think with this way, you can learn any language in the most fun and effortless way possible, and you will truly learn the language and not just memorize a bunch of words.